My name is San Yi, and I am the heiress to the ninja family. What does that mean? It means that my family has had this status for many years. Not everyone knows about it, only a select circle of people, those who are part of the black status ring. My whole family has the skills of a real fighter. We've been taught that since we were in diapers, running around with a pacifier in our mouths. My siblings and I deftly cleaved the bird feathers with our sword katana that our grandfather and father had showered on us. At age 5, each of us made a choice in preferring our weapons. My brothers had the katana, the metal claws of the tekoyagi. My sisters the throwing blades of the shinobi shizoku, or the metal spikes of the tetsubishi. And I have a yumi bow. Yes, these weapons are long gone in the modern world, but our personal family blacksmith still made them for our family from specially imported metal from Japan. I agree, we are conservative. We stick to the old rules and keep the family traditions. And the first of them has always read, "Farewell your enemies as your brother and sister." Despite their reputation as assassins for hire, our ancestors did their best to preserve the innocence of their souls and to transcend the work as little as possible. Every ninja had a dozen enemies who wanted to harm him and his loved ones. We could destroy them all with one weapon, but our rules were too sacred to be broken. So outside of work, we remained a regular family, golfing, going to the sea, picnics, shopping, family dinners. As the years went by, work became less and less available, and we found sources of income in other areas. My brothers went into architecture, my sisters into marketing, and I taught martial arts at a children's educational center. On top of that, my parents had their own business too. We owned a chain of big hotels in the country. This provided us with carefree financial stability and a future. Last year on Christmas Day, we got together as a family at Grandpa's house, but not just for the holiday at all.
"Father, who did this? How could they? You can't forgive that."
"I'll find them. Just tell me where." My siblings and I understood their anger. I too was troubled. Our grandmother's ashes were waiting for us to scatter them over the sea, as she also wished, but instead, her ashes were mixed with dog shit. I shifted my gaze to my right and saw the huge chappy litter box where he went to the bathroom. Only instead of special filler, it had Grandma's ashes in it. "They insulted our honor! Grandpa, don't talk about mercy!"
"It's hard for me to talk about it myself, but our traditions are unchanging. We have no right to charge them and betray the word ninja. With our great strength and skills as soldiers, we simply have to be disciplined like no other." "And you're suggesting we just leave it at that?" "We have no other choice. We'll clean up what we have and scatter the ashes over the sea in 3 days.
"What if they come back? How did they get past the guards?"
"I don't know, but I beefed up the guards. They did not want to hurt me physically. They hurt my feelings."
It hurt me too, because I was more close to my grandmother than anybody else, as the youngest of the children, and I was not ready to put up with this fact of lowliness. Criminals should be held accountable for a crime, and I didn't care that our family was stripped of its ninja status and banished from the family for breaking the rules. I couldn't just let it go, and decided to take revenge. My search for the culprit began rather quickly. It was enough to wait until my grandfather fell asleep and the family went about their business. I just went through the security cameras. The man was in dark clothing, no face visible. I noticed that he wasn't a pro and wasn't in very good physical shape. Somehow he climbed over the wall and fell into the rose bushes. That was the only clue. He must have scratches on his body. I reached into the bushes and found a piece of torn material there. It looked more like some kind of drawing, but what was the other part of it? While I was pondering in the school lab, a guy I didn't know walked in. He said hello and seemed suspicious. He said he was new and that he was looking for the chemistry teacher. And before he left the classroom, he threw in,
"What you're Googling, it's a crest."
"What?" I closed the tab, but when I turned around, he was already gone. Then I started searching the internet for coats of arms with the same colors, and bingo! I found the coat of arms of one respected family in town. It was the mayor's family. What? But why would they do that? They could have caused us more trouble in other ways. A couple of days later, prepared, I went to see the mayor and saw the exact same embroidery on his jacket. I knew from the dimensions that it could have been his son or approximation, since from the camera, that guy was shorter in height. I managed to track down his son, Shijido. I caught him drunk outside the club that night. He didn't put up much of a fight. I opened his shirt, but there were no marks on his body. Before I knew it, I was being chased down by his security guards. Shit, my wheel went flat. I ran out of the car and took Shijito with me for human shield. He didn't think anything of it and didn't fight back. As his guards pulled up, I saw a black cat run by. Not a good sign. I tripped over it right away and we went tumbling down to the river. Shijito landed on the soft grass and immediately fell asleep, but I hurt my knee badly and couldn't walk. A minute before the guards arrived, someone deftly picked me up and hid me in the bushes, covering my mouth. When the guards took the mirror son away, I turned around. It was the new kid from school. He drove me home. He barely answered my questions and then asked me what I was going to do. I said, "None of your business. Thanks for your help," and left. From that moment on, fate bumped into us every day at school. Willy-nilly, we started talking. I learned that he'd recently come here, that he was an orphan and had no friends. He guessed I was looking for someone and offered to help. "I don't need it. I work alone." "Clan rules." "What? How do you know?"
"I know a lot about ninjas. I always wanted to be one when I was a kid. Teach me how to fight." "That's why you need me. Go to martial arts school." "That's a long time. I know you have strict discipline, but quick results. You're a good archery shot. I've seen it. Teach me."
He got a rejection. In the meantime, I had more and more feelings for him inside of me. He pestered me for days, wouldn't leave me alone, even at night, calling and messaging. And then we had a bet. Whoever did worse on the math test would lose. I was the best in the class, and I was surprised when I lost to this newcomer. Duty is duty, but I didn't forget about the case. At the same time, I tracked down all the members of the Miras family, which got me into trouble. When I wanted to catch his eldest daughter, I was caught, grabbed by several people, and my bow fell out on the way. They wanted to bring me straight to the mayor, who knew my family. He would have exposed me. I couldn't let that happen. "No!" I shouted, and at that moment, my arrow flew past me and stabbed straight into a tree. It was him, the new guy. He scattered all the guards and helped me escape. "Why did you ask me to teach you if you're already good at fighting?" Instead of answering, he kissed me, and I kissed him back. His kiss was the final thing in my feelings for him, and I was wallowing in it. From that day on, we spent every day together. He saved me from the mayor's guards. He helped me catch every member of that family. But it wasn't the same. It was frustrating for me. He asked me out on a romantic open-air date. We drank pomegranate juice, lay on the beach, and chatted. I was immensely happy.
"Are you that eager for revenge?"
"Yes."
"You know what that means, don't you?"
"Yes."
"And yet?"
"I can't just leave it at that. I have to do this. He's besmirched my family's honor and my grandmother's memory."
"I understand. I'm sorry, Sun-Yi."
San-Yi. Look, I don't even know your name, okay? We've been spending so much time together, dating for some reason, and you're still new to me.
"Why do you need to know my name? Even my teacher doesn't know my name."
What, you don't have one?
A ninja has a concept of saying the name of the victim he's about to kill out loud.
Does that apply to you?
"I did it. I was at your house. That's my name."
No, that can't be. How could you do this to me? How could you? The ground fell from under my feet. He told me that my ancestors had robbed him of everything, his family, his home, and for years he'd been looking for me, the youngest child, to study our family, to make me fall in love with me, and hurt me doubly. It broke my heart. I stood in front of him, sobbing profusely. He showed his scars under his t-shirt from the rose bushes. Then he said,
"Yoon-jin. My name is Yoon-jin."
I drew my bow arrow in his direction at a distance of 1 meter. I roared with anger and hatred and let the arrow go into the sea. Goodbye. His revenge was unsuccessful. I conceded defeat and walked away. Yoon-jin was never in my life again. He got his revenge for everything.
My name is Val. Please tell me how you met your partner. How often have you had cases where your parents forbade you to meet? Unfortunately, my boyfriend and I went through this, and all because I'm not from the family they planned to set up with their son. This is a modern story of Romeo and Juliet, which turned out, only the end is different. Do you want to know more? Then look. I was born and raised in a simple family. My parents worked like horses all their lives, and we have a family business, a small grocery store on the next street. We weren't poor, but we weren't super rich either. Once a guy came to us, I noticed him because he was surrounded by some strange men in black suits. They came to our store, searched everything, and only then did he come in. A guy was walking around our store, and then he came up to me at the checkout and asked if we had fast food noodles. I was surprised why he needed it. I said yes and went to show him, but when he asked me which one was the best and cheapest, I gave him a couple of packs. He read the cooking method for a long time, and then he was like, "Can you cook it for me? Or show how it is done?" I said I didn't have time for this and went to the checkout, but he didn't fall behind. He pulled $100 out of his pocket and said it was for the service and $2 more on top for the noodles. Well, okay. I put the kettle on, made some noodles, and he made the other one himself. After a couple of minutes, it was ready. I gave him a disposable fork and invited him to sit on the couch to eat. He ate with such an appetite that it felt like he hadn't been fed in ages. He also asked me to eat the second one sitting next to him. It was a good thing that there were no more customers at that moment. We ate, and then he said, "My name is Ted," and holds out his hand. I shook it and said my name. Ted asked for a drink, and I gave him a can of Coke. I asked him what he was doing there, because I didn't want him to eat in such places and this kind of food. Ted said he was studying a different side of life. "Ah, I see. The quirks of the rich," I said, getting up from the couch. He laughed, then asked what else he didn't know. "You can't tell me everything. There are a lot of good things. Delicious, simple, and sometimes completely free," I said. He asked me to show him all this, but I told him I had to work. Then he offered me a deal. "Will you work for me? I'll pay you well, but you have to be there almost always. Now it's still a vacation. There is no school," he suggested. Ted did offer a good amount, and I agreed. Then he took me to the store and bought me a black suit. "You pretend to be my bodyguard, like my guys, so that there won't be any questions from my parents or anyone else." Well, okay. I agreed, put on the suit, gathered my hair in a strict ponytail, and we went to have fun. That day, Ted tried hot dogs for the first time, rode the carousels, ate chips, and we played games in the amusement park grounds. Then Ted said that we should go to his house so that he would show his mother, and then he promised to send me home with the driver. When we got there, my jaw dropped. There was a castle like I'd never seen in my life. It seemed to me that if I got lost there, I would never find a way out, and I would grow old in the search. Ted had a quick talk with his mom and headed for the exit, and I stood among the big guys and stared at the walls. And then his mother asked about me. I looked at him in confusion, and he interrupted me and said that I was his new bodyguard. His mother objected, like, what kind of bodyguard am I? She added that if his father found out, he would be unhappy, but he said that everything would be fine. We saw each other every day, and within a week, I had earned a great car. I was happy. I couldn't believe that this was happening to me. At the same time, I felt like I was getting used to Ted and wanted to spend time with him myself. Then he got sick. I wrote to him, but he said he couldn't get out. I made chicken broth and went to see him. Ted gave me an employee pass, and I got in without any problems. His parents weren't home, so I fed him in peace. Ted was touched. We spent the whole day together. I took care of him, and in the evening, we decided to take a little walk in his garden. It was nice. We talked a lot, and I felt warm around him. Well, then he had to go and walk me to the driver, and he suddenly kissed me. It was beautiful. However, I also got infected and was treated for another week after that. Ted felt guilty, so he visited me, brought me food, and met my family. We started dating. True, I had already heard my father say that we were not a couple, that his parents would not allow such a union to take place, but I did not want to listen to him. We were in love with each other. After another conversation with my father, I went to Ted. He was surprised when I came and I told him everything in tears. Ted told me everything was going to be all right, reassured me, and then told me that he would come up with something. The next day, he invited me to visit. I found out that it was his birthday. I was so embarrassed to be without a gift, but he said it wasn't a birthday party, that it would just be the two of us. The staff gathered us food and we had to go on a picnic. On the way, we stopped at a gas station near the house. While he was filling up the car, I bought something else for us. He came up to me and kissed me, and at that moment, another car pulled up and his father got out. I wanted to sink through the ground. Ted lied about his bodyguard and his father being like, "Yeah, I can see her guarding you." He told us to go with him, and we got in the car and went to the house. We were silent all the way, and his dad looked at me. In his father's office, we were asked questions like how long we've known each other and all that, and when his father found out that I was from a simple family, of course, he immediately forbade us to communicate. This was to be expected. I was upset, but Ted said that he and his father had a long-standing agreement that Ted would go where his father said he would, provided that Ted chose his own servants, bodyguards, and friends. It must have gotten to him that his father was controlling too much of his life. After this conversation, he officially employed me as a bodyguard so that we would be together most of the time. What you won't do for love. All I had to do was wear a black suit. I do not know what will happen next, but for now, his disgruntled father does not say anything, and we live in the present. What do you say, friends? Put likes and write comments to my story, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel.
Yeah, here's another load of bills to add to the pile. Oh, hey, I'm Zoe, a recent graduate turned office worker with a lousy wage. I could barely afford to pay for food and rent, let alone think about my college debt. It wouldn't matter so much if it was just me, as I could live off of noodle soup. But I also had Birdie to think about, my little sister. Oh, she's back from school.
Zoe, I found Daddy today!
Huh? I looked at her with a wry smile. Actually, this was nothing new. You see, our parents died when Birdie was just a toddler, so now she longed to have parents just like her friends did. She often said to me, "Zoe, you're like my mommy, but Clara and Polly have daddies too, and I want one." She was so innocent that whenever she saw a friendly-looking man on the street, she'd ask me, "Is that my daddy?" Come on, come here. How was school today?
Daddy is very handsome, and he lives in a big house. Come on, I'll take you to him.
Oh, my lord. This wasn't a house. It was a mansion. Confused, I was about to question Birdie on this, but she started ringing the bell repeatedly. Before I could stop her, someone who appeared to be the butler came out and happily let us inside without questioning anything. That's odd. I sipped on my iced tea and peered around at the grandness of the place, absorbing the rich energy, when suddenly a very dashing guy walked over.
There he is! That's Daddy!
Huh? This was so confusing, and seeing her hug a stranger was super embarrassing. I had a talk with the guy to figure out what happened, and apparently he's called Harry, and he's 22 like me. Huh? That's crazy, as he looks and acts way older. As for the dad story, it turns out as Birdie was waiting for the school bus, she saw a woman drop her purse. So she rushed over and picked it up and was about to return it, but the woman turned around, saw Birdie holding it, and accused her of being a thief. Just in time, Harry appeared and claimed to be her father to settle the matter. Then he took her to the mansion and showed her around. So that's what happened. Oh, my sister. Birdie has told me everything. She's such a precious child. I'd happily adopt her. No way! Why not? You like being here, don't you, Birdie?
Zoe, I really like it here. I can play with Oreo as much as I want. And now, I have a daddy just like Clara and Polly do.
But I can't just leave her alone. Of course not. You can stay with Birdie. What? How come such a good person suddenly fell from the sky? Skeptical, I told Harry I needed more time to think. He smiled and handed me his business card and told me to call him any time. What is this? Harry Atkins, the eldest son of the chairman of ATLAC Corp? Unbelievable! His name was all over the internet as a rich and educated young man. If that was the case, then surely this had to be legit, right? I can't afford to pay these. My sister and I deserve better than this life. Besides, It would be nice to have a place to stay for free, right? So the next day, I went to see Harry and offered to help with the housework as payment. Harry agreed and presented a prepared contract. Contract? Okay. But there was a clause in it that required me not to mention that I was Bertie's sister. This was a little odd, but never mind. It didn't matter. Here was to our new luxurious life. Wait, but does that mean I also have to call him Dad? So, yeah, my new life began. And oh boy, it was crazy. A maid brought me breakfast in bed and did all my laundry. So much for helping out with household chores. There are actually more servants in this house than the number of staff in my office. So it's obvious that there's nothing left for me to do. Even so, I wanted to be useful, because hearing them calling me Miss made me feel quite embarrassed. However, oops, turns out I suck at house chores. Once I put Harry's fine suit in the washing machine and ended up ruining it, which made him pace up and down the room in anger. Also, he couldn't seem to say anything nice about me, always complaining about the flowers I bought or saying the muffins I spent hours baking were too chewy. He threw away all of my handmade stuff because he thought it was garbage. What a rude man! Oh, wait, he's not even a man. He's just a stubborn kid who doesn't care about other people's feelings. I tell ya, if it weren't for Bertie and that contract, I'd... Phew! But those are just small gripes. In general, our life here was great. Bertie is very happy, and seeing her living her best life makes me smile. But unbeknown to me, turns out this was the calm before the hurricane. Hurricane Rachel! Harry's betrothed fiancée since childhood. She's from a rich family and is therefore deemed a suitable marriage alliance to Harry's family. I overheard the servants in the house saying that Harry is the successor to the company. So when he marries Rachel, the company will be even more flourishing. As soon as she saw me, Rachel kept asking Harry, "Hey, who is this? Why is she here? And this girl too? Why is there a kid in the house?"
Who is this scary lady?
Hearing that, Rachel looked at me from head to toe and then started firing questions at me. "Why are you here? How do you know Harry? When are you leaving?" "Enough!" What a relief. Harry intervened just in time, then dragged her into the reading room. Rachel followed Harry, but didn't forget to wrap her arms around his neck as she peered at me with a smug look on her face. Huh? What does she mean by that? Ugh, is she jealous? If that's the case, then she's wasting her time, because it is true that I have a crush on someone, but it's not Harry. You see, the other week I was wandering home from the grocery store when I met the love of my life. My shopping bag split, and my soda, cookies, and potato chips tumbled out. I was trying to pick everything up without getting run over, when suddenly a guy appeared and helped me. Then he drove me home. His name's Marcus, and he's so hot. After that, we exchanged numbers, and have been texting ever since. Marcus is so easy to talk to, so I confided in him about everything, from Bertie being adopted to the fact that I'm now working as a housekeeper. He's so sweet and kind, and I feel like I can tell him anything. He's the prince of my dreams. Anyway, my strange life in the mansion continued. One thing's for sure, Harry was great with Bertie. For her birthday, he surprised her with a trip to the amusement park. I have to admit, we had a lot of fun together. Bertie made us go on the carousel 5 times. Then we got ice cream. Suddenly, I noticed Harry giving me this odd look. "What?" "You have some ice cream on your lips. Here." He leaned forward and gently dabbed it away with a napkin. Just then, a crowd rushed in, and Harry reached out and pulled me and Bertie closer to him. Our eyes met, and... Why did I have goosebumps and a pounding heart? What did that mean? Did he do that intentionally or not? Why did I have this strange feeling? While I was still sinking deep in my thoughts, Harry stopped the car and said he needed to pass by his brother's place for some files. Huh? Isn't that... Marcus? Marcus? I blurted out. "You two know each other?" I didn't answer. Instead, I turned my attention to Bertie. When we got home, I kept wondering why Marcus never told me who he was. I texted him to ask, and he replied that they don't get along, so he didn't want me to know. Despite all that, I stayed up all night thinking about Marcus. And, also Harry. It's safe to say I was confused about everything. Then, Marcus and Rachel suddenly showed up at Harry's house one day with a load of groceries. Rachel announced that she was baking a cake, as it's soon going to be her birthday, and we should all assist. Okay, weird, but whatever. I was preparing the mixture when Marcus took my stirring hand and insisted on helping me. Suddenly, Harry burst in between us. Upon seeing this, Rachel yanked on his arm and pulled him away. My eyes widened in horror as I saw the mixture fly into the air and slow-mo splatter all over us.